Welcome to Wilmington, North Carolina. We're here at Easterns 2012. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien, part of Next Gen Network's coverage of Easterns. And we have a fantastic matchup to start out the day with, number 1 versus number 2 in Pool B, Tufts versus North Carolina. Getting both teams here coming in ranked in the top 20, Tufts number 1, North Carolina 15, fighting for rankings this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, Brian. Tufts ranked number 1 in the nation right now. Maybe arguably the number 1 team in the nation right now. We're all sort of learning about how these ranking systems are working. But they're a good squad. They're pretty deep. Lots of great players on this team. It should be a great game.
Tufts is led by coaches Mike Salisk and Dan Forsetter, and great captains in Robbie Perkins High and Alex Cooper. Alex Cooper from Dark and Light. Finished 10th in nationals last year at Boulder, losing to Harvard in the pre-quarters. Alex Cooper is really the engine that makes this offense run.
For North Carolina, coached by Michael Donardis, but truly this team is all about Sarah McCord and Johnson. Those are going to be the guys that run the show for North Carolina. We're going to see those two working with each other. Both teams like to run vertical offense, and for North Carolina, it'll be a question of whether or not they can use their depth to win this game or whether or not they rely on those two guys. When things get shaky for North Carolina, they often turn to those guys and look to just put it deep, and their ability to stay patient, stay composed, use their depth will be the key factor for them in this game.
North Carolina has been a young team. And as you said, Johnson, Sarah McCord have to excel. They're going to have to be able to convert on defense. That D-line is going to be huge. Tufts isn't going to give up the disc to them too many times. And as you said, we're lucky here because the wind is not high. And North Carolina did not play well at Queen City Tune-Up earlier this year, where there was 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. They had team trust issues. Really didn't just trying to go with 1 or 2 players to get the job done at offense, and it led to a lot of breaks.
Yeah, the weather here is perfect. This is Ultimate Players weather. It rained a little bit last night. The turf is a little bit wet. You make a bid, you're going to slide around. This is what you love to play in if you're an Ultimate Player. Now, taking a look at Tufts, the important things for them are Hatchet needs to contain that star player for North Carolina, McCord. That has to happen. If McCord gets going, North Carolina's going to roll. But if Hatchet, one of their key defenders, can shut him down, they should have a great chance to win. Offensively, it's about red zone efficiency and just getting the flow going on offense. Tufts has struggled when they're not able to execute that first play. It usually ends up in some type of floaty huck. However, when their offense gets going with that first cut, when their set play works, they're tough to stop.
Tufts trying to preserve that number 1 ranking, seeding on the line for them at nationals. And North Carolina, wins here are vital for them, and every point matters because they are fighting for a strength bid. For those not familiar with the system, we have top 20 teams getting bids to nationals this year. North Carolina out of the Atlantic Coast region, as well as rival North Carolina Wilmington. If both teams do well, they would get an extra bid for that Atlantic Coast region, allowing 2 spots for nationals, and 1 team wouldn't have to go home that may be deserving. Both teams coming to the line now, just about to get started. Mitch Dangler is our head observer. Note for the viewers online, we have some lines down the field to avoid confusion. The yellow line closest to our camera view is actually the one on the sideline that is considered out, not the white line within the field. Looks like we're going to have Tufts to pull the start. Jack Hatchett should be on Thomas Sayer McCord, that matchup we highlighted earlier. Hatchett playing for Ironside last year. Thomas Sayer McCord having Ring of Fire experience. And let's get going. Short pull to start things off. A turnover immediately overthrown. Tufts is going to get a chance here, and Alex Cooper, mostly an offensive line standout, is on the field to try to get an early break. Finding Hatchett. In the field, Sarah McCord now guarding Cooper, making him go up line, not allowing him to get the back.
Excellent technique there by Sarah McCord, forcing the disc away from the best player from Tufts. It's an excellent defensive technique.
Wong with the disc off the restart for Tufts. Well, Wong has been a defensive handler, been very consistent finding Cooper. Gets past Sarah McCord, call on the play.
Nice little juke move there by Cooper.
Cooper, not the most athletic player, but still finds ways to get open, is very technical on his cuts.
Crafty. He's crafty, Brian.
Turnover off of the call. Sarah McCord picks it up immediately. Again, this is the big player for North Carolina. Loves to have the disc in his hands. Shepard going around with a break, getting through, fighting through the foul. Now to Johnson. Christian Johnson, sophomore, played for Ring of Fire last year. D-line very much complements Sarah McCord on the field. Sarah McCord finding Johnson wide open for the 1-0 lead. North Carolina holds.
You know, I liked what I saw there from North Carolina. The disc moved very quickly. Not a lot of stall counts past 2, past stall 3, and that makes it terribly difficult if you're a defender to really take anything away, because by the time they catch the disc, you're just setting up their mark, and if they're already moving it, they've got the advantage.
We'll see that connection most likely throughout this game. Johnson and Sarah McCord. It's going to be up to Tufts to really try to clamp down on that. Hatchet should be matched up on 1 or 2 of those guys, but it's going to depend on, can they guard the other one? You can choose Sarah McCord and let the more inexperienced Johnson try to beat you, but Johnson, blazing fast speed, very good cutter. We see the Tufts offensive line come out on the field. #1 team in the nation, again, led by Alex Cooper, very good distributor, type of handler that likes to get it every other. Adrian Banerjee on the field, Jean Buonacorsi. Piers McNaughton has made big plays, number 35, MVP earlier at Queen City tune-up for Tufts. Polling for North Carolina, we have John Nethercutt, who is known for his fantastic flick pulls. Was able to throw them into the wind at Wilmington with great effect.
Technically, that's a really, really hard throw to try to throw it 70 yards upwind with a flick.
Tufts coming out in a horizontal, usually coming out in a vertical, moving it very well to start out with. Buonacorsi. Sarah McCord still forcing Cooper up the line. Now back to Shaw. Travel called on the play.
Sarah McCord playing tough defense, but he's just not 100% in the right position all the time. He's doing a good job forcing him up blind, but he needs to know that Cooper is going to come back for that disc. He needs to get positioned so that he doesn't even let him come back for it.
Shaw finding another option. Interesting matchup with Sarah McCord trying to shut down Cooper. Not aware Cooper able to get open. Also see on the field Tristan Green on defense for North Carolina. Should play a limited role today. Has been through injuries. A big fire starter. Keeping play alive, Shaw. Sarah McCord still forcing Cooper, and Tufts right now is in a little bit of disarray and causes a turnover.
You know, I'm going to give the credit on that D to Sarah McCord. He denied Cooper the disc. They forced it to another player, caused a turnover.
Nethercutt trying to go deep immediately. Sarah McCord will not be able to chase it down. And so far, we've seen this interesting matchup. We talked about Jack Hatchett playing defense, but Sarah McCord are going to play a lot of points for this North Carolina team. A win here would be huge for the rankings. Cooper looking deep for his Ironside teammate. Can't toe the line and runs into the Gatorade bath. A little bit of bloopers here early on. Tristan Green picking up the disc. Looks like the disc went out of bounds. Is gonna observer not quite too far. Both teams usually known for the vertical stack, and both teams early here showing horizontal, knowing that the other team is probably used to running vertical stack. I don't think they want their defense to be there. And then missed throw. Tufts picks it up.
You know, Tufts did a great job coming off the turnover. They had a great switch downfield, and that's actually what led to that miscommunication.
We'll be back in a minute. We have a timeout in the field. This is Next Gen Network's presentation of Eastern's 2012. And we're back here, North Carolina versus Tufts, in our first round of pool play in Pool B. Right now we have North Carolina up 1-0. Tufts, though, getting a turnover and trying to threaten near the goal line and taking a timeout. We've seen this angled stack before throughout the season from Tufts. It's a classic end zone play. A lot of times they'll actually line up the back of the stack almost out of bounds. In this case, they have a lot more room. We have Banerjee picking up the disc with Cooper trying to go back. Cooper taking the bump from Sarah McCord. This game already getting physical. Shaw. And drop by Tufts. That's the second drop in a row we've seen for them.
Maybe a little bit of nerves coming out here. The newly ranked #1 team in the nation, #1 seed in the tournament. We've seen a couple of drops already.
Play gets going. Carr with the disc. The right sideline now. North Carolina back at a vertical stack, finding Sarah McCord and puts it out deep for Marshall Ward, who misreads it but comes down with it in the end, and North Carolina has an early 2-0 lead.
Yeah, Sarah McCord did a great job putting that to where the defense couldn't get to it. Sometimes if you have a throw that's so good, your offensive player actually will get to make 2 bids before the defensive player can even get a bid at it. In that case, it happened. The disc goes up. It actually, look, the defender has no play on the disc, but because the offensive player was boxing out, was in the right position, he makes a play.
Right now, Sarah McCord already with 2 assists to lead off this game, and as we can see for North Carolina, it's a fast break offense off of a turnover. You get it to Sarah McCord, have one of their athletic players go deep, stretch the field. Marshall Ward also a very consistent player for North Carolina. One of those guys that doesn't make big plays, but just makes the right play at the right time. Other side, Tufts trying to calm those nerves. Sarah McCord has been able to disrupt the offense so far. He's not on the field right now for North Carolina and may allow Alex Cooper to get open a little bit more and get into a comfort zone.
Yeah, Sarah McCord is going to be big for North Carolina, not just in this game, but as the tournament progresses. I love what the North Carolina coaching staff did in these first 2 points. They said, we want to get a break, take control right away, make Tufts feel nervous, get some momentum for our team, and then put our regular D-line in with some confidence, give Sarah McCord a rest, and let him come in and just do his job on offense.
Another cut electing to go with a backhand pull, more known for those flip pulls, able to stay in bounds. Again, a horizontal stack, and Hatchett coming off and bumping his man, now stretching the field deep. Sets up an underneath cut. Hatchett, ironside player, and throws into a poach. North Carolina is still running here, and another miscue for Tufts. Zeman. Hand block by Vincenzo Vitiello. Cooper picking it up, has a man. Holsters that one, good decision. Tufts will do that a lot. Not really trying to beat you deep. Luana Corsi.
North Carolina very effective right now with their force middle defense. They're constantly changing the mark, which means that's making the cutters have to adjust for Tufts. And we've seen a couple miscommunications on the cuts. We've seen some drops. We saw a throw into a poach. That's the style of your defense getting you Ds.
Cooper trying to stretch the field, and North Carolina is on fire, getting a D right there. Adam Bostrom. Right now, the story of this game is North Carolina is making Tufts play out of their comfort zone, and it's working. Zeman around break. North Carolina forfeits a great chance to go up 3-0. Tufts just needs to get some easy passes off, get some flow going, and that forced middle is causing them to move so much laterally, nothing's available upfield. We see the more traditional vertical stack from Tufts. Getting some movement. Banerjee bobbles it. Buona Corsi. Cooper fakes out his man. Nethercutt was looking in the wrong direction after that move. Finding Shaw. Flip to Banerjee, and Tufts is on the board. 2-1, North Carolina leads.
You know, when you're going to force the handlers up line, that's normally a great idea when you're in the middle of the field. It makes the handler think, oh, I shouldn't throw that. I'm going to be throwing into the stack. However, when you get down to the end zone, not the greatest idea to force him upfield, because if he gets a throw off, it's a goal. Whereas in the middle of the field, you're not giving up a goal. So you really have to sort of adjust your style of play, because in one situation, you're just giving up a tough pass. In another situation, you're actually giving up the goal. Overall, though, North Carolina's defensive strategy is the key to this game right now. Tufts has not made the adjustment in their offensive set to be able to work against that forced middle defense. Tufts so far in the red zone, 1 out of 4.
That's not a good conversion rate for them moving forward. They're going to have to improve in that, and they're going to give North Carolina some great chances off of those Ds. Like the way they're playing defense right now is just to keep continuing to get it. But here's the chance now for Tufts to get back in this game, and the reason I say that is because their defense has kept them in the games. At Centex last weekend against Texas, they were down at one point almost 4. Their defense was able to get them back in the game, make big Ds. Jack Hatchett is leading that part of the crew. And right now, he's not on the field. Pick called in the play. Sarah McCord able to keep possession.
Wind is definitely having an effect out here so far. Not a huge effect, but you can see just on that one, just how the receiver had to wait for that disc to come down. The wind is keeping the disc in the air just an extra half a second. And that extra half a second, a lot of time, is going to lead to an opportunity for a D.
Sarah McCord gets the bailout dump, having to come back all the way from the back of the stack. Tipped and stripped, called by Ward. Will Wong on the play. Play restarts. Johnson has not done much in this possession, but now Sarah McCord gets it, and Johnson's taking off, putting it out in front. Not in the end zone yet. So Johnson up the line to Ward. North Carolina still holding 3-1.
You know what to set that up? Sarah McCord, another perfect huck to Johnson. Sarah McCord having an incredible start to the game here.
We have 3 points for North Carolina and 3 assists for Thomas Sayer McCord. He's been a great player all year for North Carolina. Part of the reason they are where they are, North Carolina able to win ACC UC early on in the year. Going down a little bit at Queen City Tune-Up, losing to rival North Carolina Wilmington. Coming back at Stanford, and while they didn't have a great tournament, still proved that they could belong in the top 20. Just for an emphasis this weekend, the rankings are on everybody's mind throughout the college world. Every team here is a Nationals hopeful. And besides for maybe 3 teams, there's so many implications in every single game and on every single point for the rankings. Every single point matters. Teams are separated by so little that a 13-11 victory or a 13-12 victory can mean the difference between 20th and 21st, which could mean a bid for your region.
Yeah, every point is critical in a tournament like this. And, you know, I give credit to the USAU for the changes that they've made in the last few years. Finally, we're developing drama in the college scene. And this year also in the club scene is going to happen as well. Definitely progressing, you know, in terms of the level of competition and creating storylines, which are eventually what fans are going to want to follow.
They've created a regular season that matters, and that's what we wanted to see as Tufts gets going at offense. Coming now in a horizontal look, trying to open things up. Banerjee back to Cooper. Finding Shaw up the line. Shaw has been vital. Plays off of Cooper very well. That reset. McNaughton now. Speedy cutter. Cooper continuing to get those up the line passes occasionally as North Carolina continues to force him upfield on the dumps. Buonacorsi. The forcing middle is still slowing down Tufts' offense, and you can hear the sideline yelling, telling their defenders which way to force. Tufts working through this one, being patient. McNaughton putting out in front. Buonacorsi makes the grab. Call on the play in, ruled by the observer, and 3-2, North Carolina leads.
So quick clarification for you. You know, it might have been tough to tell whether or not that one was in or out. There's actually some tape down there that is the in or out marker. You can see it right there on the yellow line. That is the official in and out line. Sorry for the confusion there. It is the yellow line with the tape over it, not the white line on the field.
Tufts there kind of getting their legs underneath them, able to settle down, work it up the field. Despite North Carolina, they kind of almost treated it like a zone point. Like, let's be patient, let's just swing it around. And resets are a crucial part of that, and Cooper is going to have to continue to get open.
Yeah, I mean, Tufts needs to learn to score goals by being patient, and that's what they had to do right there. When you play against a force middle, it's not going to be continuation passes because the force is always getting changed. If they can continue to remain patient, they're going to have a chance to win this game. But if their first play gets shut down and they continue to force throws, or if they continue to drop the disc, there's no way that they're going to be successful.
Should this game progress still tight towards the end, Jack Hatchett right now with the pull is the defender that we will see exclusively on the D-line until game gets tight. He has proven to be a reliable deep receiver for Tufts. It's something they don't really have. And with Sam KS right now, Seattle Sockeye player, out for injury for Tufts, but also eliminates some of the deep threats that they had. Pole goes out of bounds, giving North Carolina a short field to work with. On the field we have local Justin Foster, who played at Apex near Chapel Hill, only 2 hours away from here in high school. Freshman, possible freshman of the year candidate. Been playing some big points for North Carolina all season. You see Sarah McCord line up near the front of the stack with Cooper. Interesting that Cooper's guarding him, and we have Hatchett deciding to go with Speedy Johnson. Very deep immediately. Sarah McCord giving chase. Hatchett coming down with a D. Back to Cooper. Perkins high. Flat mark from North Carolina. Cooper now with Johnson. Johnson is speedy, but let's see if Cooper can take advantage. Hatchett and Sayer McCord matched up. Finding Cooper up the line. That crafty cuts once again.
You know, that was a crafty cut, but a craftier throw.
And Scuba over the top, finding Perkins high. What a throw by Cooper. And they're back in this game, getting a break to tie this game up at threes.
You know, here's the adjustment that they made on that point. Up until that point, they had been running a horizontal offense. What they did is they went vertical on that point, which opened up those lanes on the side of the field, and we saw 3 different big gainers up the sideline. Here, this throw is available because they're running vertical stack. Cooper puts it to space for the goal.
Always a fan of those scoobers.
I'm still really impressed with North Carolina's defensive strategy, however. They are dictating completely what Tufts has to do out there. Even though they were getting those upfield throws, those are break mark throws, which are a very difficult throw. And with some wind, if any one of those hangs, your defender's going to have a play on the disc. Tufts is going, I mean, they've yet to attempt a throw maybe over 15 to 20 yards. I'm wondering if before the end of the game, they're going to have to open up their game. Otherwise, they're going to get the same types of passes, same types of opportunities that they've been getting so far this game. And it hasn't been efficient for them. They've scored some goals, but not efficiently.
Cooper playing a lot of points for Tufts this year. Senior captain. Interesting choice of a flick going into the wind off the pole. Shepard. North Carolina's D-line out in the field, actually, for the most part here. Sarah McCord and Johnson being the notable exceptions.
Excellent holster by Sierra McCord. Found his open receiver instead.
North Carolina moving it quickly, finding Johnson, Shepard. I think Sarah McCord on the break. North Carolina loves that play. Sarah McCord putting it to space, finding his man. Sarah McCord, 4th assist of the game already, and 4 points for North Carolina.
Sarah McCord's playing great. North Carolina's offense looked fluid. They were moving the disc quickly. When they got stalled, when they didn't have that continuation going, they went to option. Things sort of got muddled in the middle of the field. They threw that break throw, which created the space and eventually led to the goal.
It's interesting to see. We've seen Hatchett lined up on Johnson so far in this game. And if I'm Tufts, I've got to make the adjustment that Hatchett has to take Sarah McCord. You give up Johnson. Johnson is a great young cutter right now. He's still pretty raw. He's got the speed, but you know what he's going to try to do for the most part. He's going to try to beat you deep, and it's going to be Sarah McCord throwing to him. Hatchett has to play the type of defense where you try to not allow Sarah McCord to get the disc. Sarah McCord can hurt you with his throws.
North Carolina so far, red zone efficiency has been a key here for both teams. For North Carolina, 4 out of 5. For Tufts, 3 out of 7.
That's the reason why North Carolina's up right now. Another cut. Flick pull this time, floating in the air. And the defense time to get down. Another cut again, matched up on Cooper. Cooper finds Banerjee, space to spare. Oh, miscommunication, turnover. North Carolina again getting Tufts out of their comfort zone.
Again, the defensive strategy caused a turner. It wasn't one player making a D, it was the defensive strategy creating the situation.
Carr. Back to Ward. Finding DeLuga. Vertical stack for North Carolina. Nothing really moving right now. Needing some initiation. Likely to see an eventual deep shot from North Carolina. We'll see if they can work it up though. And a miscue there, overthrown. Receiver out of position, giving it back to Tufts. Not sure that North Carolina can afford to keep missing on those opportunities. Tufts is a good team that is most likely to adjust. Gotta get points early. Cooper, high bailout, putting it to space. Banerjee is there. Comes down with it. Tufts ties this game at 4.
Cooper's a great player. I mean, he's got all of the necessary handler skills to not only deliver the pass when there's an open receiver, but to bail out his team. And that type of skill can really come in handy late in the game as well as in big games.
We've seen that a lot this year from Cooper right there, North Carolina playing pretty good defense, denying them the underneath, which, as we said, Tufts wants. They want those inside breaks. And is that Tufts' first pass over 20 yards this game?
And it was a late stall bail throw.
And that's where you rely on the talents of players like Banerjee who have the experience of playing with Ironside.
We haven't seen any, and this surprises me, we haven't seen any junk from either team, haven't seen any zone. Surprised me a little bit with the wind, but I also think that that just goes to show that their initial defensive strategy for both teams seems to be working. They're both disrupting flow defensively.
It's interesting, too, is that Tufts actually is well known for a transition zone with almost any amount of wind, and they haven't used it yet. I wonder if we'll see that as an adjustment if North Carolina is going to continue to have offensive success. And Hatchet now is matched up on Sarah McCord. This should be interesting to see how the North Carolina offense runs. Thompson finding Shepard back. Underthrown behind the receiver. Sarah McCord can't get to it, and Tufts has a chance to take the lead for the first time this game. Finding Hatchet, matched up with Sarah McCord. Sarah McCord playing well off Hatchet.
As you can see, Sarah McCord forcing Hatchet back to the middle of the field. That's a forced middle. Every time the disc changes sides of the field, the defense actually changes their mark to force the disc back towards the middle of the field.
Perkins high. Shaw, pick called on the play.
You know, the forced middle is something you don't see all the time, but when executed effectively, it's deadly. It creates confusion, it creates frustration for the offense. And if you're a team like North Carolina that plays it all the time and you get really comfortable with it, you're constantly going to have the other team out of their comfort zone.
Throw in the tight space doesn't work. Sarah McCord picking it back up, and North Carolina has another chance. Forced middle is something we don't always see because the vertical stack has kind of gone in the way in the past several years with the advent of the horse stack. And Sarah McCord trying for his 5th assist, puts it to fellow captain Justin Moore, and North Carolina is up 5-4. 5 assists. 5 assists for Sarah McCord.
You know, he got the assist on that one, but you also have to give credit to the throw that got him there. North Carolina has done a great job breaking the mark. Excellent inside-out break here to Sarah McCord, and that's an easy throw. That's a break side throw with no mark on him. I mean, Sarah McCord is going to make that play every time. The hockey assist there goes to that initial handler who broke the mark and got Sarah McCord open.
Christian Johnson able to get that break throw off, and those two have a chemistry that is vital for North Carolina's success and has been apparent since early last fall. North Carolina is a team that actually, usually the 15th team in the nation, is a perennial regionals contender. They have a team that have been there before the last couple of years. Last year, though, North Carolina failed to get out of sectionals after being in Greenville, North Carolina, winds of 40 miles an hour. They lost 2 games to virtue of a flip because nobody could break each other.
You know, it's unfortunate when the weather takes control of a game and you know, you don't have the best team win, but also that's what's so beautiful about Ultimate is that sometimes, you know, the team that wins the poll might have a chance to win the game just because it's so windy.
Another cut. And switching up the pulse here, but goes back to the flick, and this one is pretty beautiful. Staying in bounds, no. Another cut has not been able to display the usual prowess.
Now Tufts is coming out horizontal stack again. Let's see if they can get their first play to work. Oh, terrible mistake by the initial North Carolina defender. Just allowed an easy underneath cut.
Boston with a huge bid, can't get there. Travel called on the play. McNaughton checking the disc back in.
Now take a look at how the dump defender is setting up. He's forcing Cooper to go downfield. This is something we've been seeing all game. Now there's a couple different techniques you can use. You can use one technique where you actually see the disc. The other technique is to completely face guard. It looked like the defender was there actually doing a little bit of both. he was victorious because he forced Cooper to go downfield, and eventually that's what led to that turnover.
Cooper is such an integral part of the offense, and we have another turnover right back. But I think Tufts should try to find ways to get other people the disc and line up and let maybe Cooper go downfield with the way the defenders are playing him. Lefty backhand out to space, finding his man Cooper. Again, going up the line now, quick dish to Banerjee, not in. Travel called on the play. Cooper being called for the travel coming back.
So here's where North Carolina needs to make that adjustment. They can't continue to force upfield when they're by the end zone because it's going to lead to a goal. You can see that the handler defender tightened down there a little bit. Didn't allow that open space.
Finding his man after a high stall count. Call on the play. No stall, ruled a goal, and Tufts ties this game at 5, and we have a good one so far. Through the early stage of the game, both teams have adjusted a little bit. North Carolina's defense still making Tufts uncomfortable, and that's what they need to do. You're facing the #1 team in the country. That's what it comes down to. Interesting, though, just to clarify from an earlier point, although Tufts is ranked #1 in the country, Pittsburgh is actually seeded first in this tournament. We have the USAU rankings working on an algorithm. As a result, takes into account score differential as a very important part. Tufts and Pittsburgh have not faced off this year. Should both of the top seeds meet in the final, should be in for a great game. Both teams losing to Oregon by a couple of points this season. Pittsburgh losing in the finals of Stanford, and Tufts losing in the semifinals of Centex.
Yeah, Tufts Pittsburgh is the game that I think a lot of people are hoping for. We've got Pittsburgh, who was ranked #1, went into the beginning of the season ranked #1. They've got a lot of great freshmen. Alex Thorne leading the way for Pittsburgh in the Callahan race. Pittsburgh Tufts will be a great matchup later this weekend if we see it.
Tufts with the pull. And we see a transition zone likely here from Tufts. Kind of poachy. You see Will Wong in the middle of the cup looking back for any men crashing in.
Excellent adjustment made here by Tufts. Sarah McCord was absolutely killing him as an individual along with Johnson. Now Tufts is forcing other players for North Carolina to get involved.
Interestingly, Sarah McCord's on the upside of the field and gets a big swing over to him from Justin Foster, freshman. Snell back to Sarah McCord, and Sarah McCord finds the open man. Foster's there, hanging in the air. Can't make the play. Tufts able to get the D and get the disc back.
You know, like I was mentioning before, there's not a lot of wind here, but there's just enough so when the disc gets out above 10 feet in the air, it's going to have an effect on the disc. That was the case with that throw. It hangs, goes out of bounds, turnover.
Cooper looking back for Wong. Defensive line out here for Tufts. Johnson trying to chase down Cooper, finding Hatchett. Ripping a backhand. Sarah McCord gets his first D of the game coming over the top, and foul is called.
Sam McCord came from the backside there. Again, they forced a high throw. It hangs. You get an opportunity for the D. And a lot of times as a defense, your goal is just to force a situation where you've got a 50-50 ball. And even if when you don't come down with it, you got to come off the field saying, we did our job, we got what we wanted, we just didn't make the play.
Observer rules no foul on the play. And Tufts going back to their zone defense. Forced a floaty throw last time.
Interesting deep shot there by Tufts. It was one of their second of the game. When they do it, though, they need to be a little bit smarter.
Johnson now in the middle of the field. Throwing over the top, can't get to his man. Hatchet picking up the junk. Cooper and Hatchet streaking. Cooper liking that matchup, puts it out in front. Hatchet comes down with it, and Tufts takes their first lead of the game, 6-5.
Cooper and Hatchet, just like Sam McCord and Johnson, they have chemistry. You know, a lot of times when you have that kind of chemistry with the player, all it is a simple look, make eye contact, and then it's a goal. I mean, that was the case right there. Cooper's going to find Cooper sees his man going deep, puts it to space for the goal.
Another thing, too, that cut was started from the front of the stack, giving his team, the cutter, plenty of space to run to the disc, giving time for the handler to identify the throw. And as you said, with chemistry like that, they're going to hit that the majority of the time.
And that's what it takes when you're playing against wind. There's no way to start your cut from the back of the stack and still allow your thrower to put it to space. That's a hard throw if you're throwing, you know, 30 to 40 yards upwind. Like the disc needs to be going super fast for it to get there in time. When you start your cut from the beginning of the stack, it gives the thrower more space to throw to, and usually is going to result in a better play.
Other scores around the tournament. We have Pittsburgh over Florida in the first round. Illinois over California, San Diego. Central Florida over Dartmouth. Georgia over Penn State. Stanford over Michigan. No upset so far. A little bit unexpected. And Tufts continuing through that zone. And Johnson called up. See here if this did in fact stay up. Ooh, that's close.
You know, I think his hand got under it. The disc hit his hand, and then it's going to hit the ground after it hits his hand. A lot of times when you catch the front end of the disc, the back end of the disc actually goes and hits the ground. But most of the time you have control before it hits the ground.
Ward finding Nethercutt. Combined defensive and offensive line here. Sam McCord. Sam McCord a lot of times here in his zone when North Carolina's not running well will grow impatient. Right now, still spreading the disc. It's important that they stay this way and trust their teammates. Got with a Scuba to Ward. Flat zone, allowing that swing. Not a cup by Tufts. Still Poche looking for men. You see all of the cup defenders looking around. Beating the zone, breaking through now, quick movement.
Yeah, a mistake by the far defender up in the zone.
And poor decision by Shepard leads to a turnover.
Looks like this one might be coming back. Didn't quite see what happened there on the play.
We have a tournament pass for everybody watching in. Would give you access to a high-quality feed and video-on-demand archives to all the tournament games. Here, it costs us $10, and it's available under the Tournament Pass menu bar on NextGen at ngnultimate.com. Cooper picking up the disc. Still looking for an option. Back to Shaw. Tufts in their own end zone. Finding Adolph. That disc was in the air for a long time. Looked like the defender could have closed and made a play on it.
You know, that was the first time we actually saw some space for the Tufts cutters. And here we have Cooper going deep again.
Perkins high, chasing it down just too far. And this is what happens when Tufts cannot connect. When the options aren't open underneath, North Carolina's been a good job at forcing Tufts to go to their weakness.
You know, this is a big point here for North Carolina. I would look to see, I mean, Johnson and Sam McCord need to recognize the situation and take control if they can. Now, Tufts playing zone is making it so that those individuals can't take control. So Sam McCord and Johnson need to still play within the system. But again, if North Carolina wants to get this point, it's got to be on Sam McCord and Johnston to run the show, direct traffic, get the disc where it needs to go.
We see here Hatchet we talked about earlier. Who's he going to guard, Johnson or Sam McCord? Well, you know what? Playing the deep position, it doesn't matter. We're not worried about them beating whoever's going to beat it deep, whether it's Sam McCord going deep, Johnson going deep, or either of them throwing it deep. Putting it over the top, finding Johnson, cannot get there, and that's the throw that Tufts wants to force.
The zone forced North Carolina to make a throw that they made because they were antsy. They felt this is taking too long. We need to get the disc moving.
Once
and it
again,
resulted in a turnover.
Cooper putting it deep. Hatchet was there that time, though it wasn't a clean play, and it was floating in the air.
Again, not the greatest decision there from Cooper. Yes, he's got the skills, but I think that they need to try to get some mojo going there before that hook comes.
Sam McCord now putting it deep for Zeman. Can't run it down. And both teams exchanging deep shots. The winner of this point could be huge going into halftime. Big momentum swing. Tufts is able to continue on, make it 7-5. Perhaps break for half on the next possession. North Carolina would be in trouble. Cooper.
I like that call by Cooper. Cooper recognizes that this is a big point. Going in 7-5 as opposed to getting broken is a huge shift, and I like the timeout call here by Cooper. Now, if you're North Carolina at this point, might be a good time to change up your defensive look. You've played the same defensive look for that whole point, and Tufts is probably game planning for that same defensive strategy. I think if you switch it up right now, if you're North Carolina coming out of this timeout, you're going to disallow their flow that Tufts seems to need in order to score and give yourself a better chance to come back, even the score, and possibly take half.
Coaches Mike Zalisk and Mike Denardiston playing a chess match, trying to guess the opponent's next move. North Carolina definitely like this matchup coming into this game, despite Tufts having a great regular season so far. North Carolina saying, you know what? We like our forced middle. We like our defense against their offense. And so far they're in this game. Not quite the, it's closer than you would imagine for a 1 versus 15 matchup.
You know, and that a lot of times that's what the weather does. It sort of evens the playing field. And also that's what great players do when they're playing well. And that's what we're seeing here from Sam McCord as well as Johnson.
And Tufts loves this off of the timeout. Can't say enough. We have games to 15 today, so halftime will be at 8. Some question coming out of the timeout. Not sure what's being debated with the observer.
North Carolina setting up with a flat mark. Dump defender. We'll see if he forces downfield like they have been, or if he maybe forces him backfield to change it up.
Back to Shaw. Cooper able to get a rare up line off of Sam McCord. Sam McCord has been shutting him down for the most part. Finding the cutter off of the front. Wong. And play is slowed down a little bit.
Once again, North Carolina dictating with their defensive strategy. Sam got an awesome matchup right behind the disc. Sam McCord against Cooper.
Shaw along the sideline. Throws into an unseen poach. Another cut. Might as well have been invisible there. And again, with that defense dictating, North Carolina defense dictating, Tufts is uncomfortable, and you can see it. They're just not moving the way they want to on offense.
Yeah, Tufts wants the disc in Cooper's hands, and when he can't get it, their offense is not as confident.
Now we have Hatchett forcing Ward all the way upfield, eventually finding Johnson. Ward putting up for Thomas Sayer McCord for his first goal of the game. North Carolina ties it at 6s.
That's a big one for North Carolina, and it's going to give them confidence, not only for this point, but also is going to, going into half, at the very worst, they're going to be down by 1. They're going to feel like they're in this game against the #1 team in the nation. And a lot of times, in order for that upset to happen, all you need is a little bit of confidence.
I'm very interested to see what will happen at a halftime when we get there, because for College Ultimate, that's really when we see the adjustments made. In Club Ultimate, I feel like those teams they've had the experience, they know to adjust on the fly. College kids, they don't really know how to do that. And so the half, a lot of times I feel like it's a tale of two halves, where what are we figuring out what they're doing? Okay, let's battle it. Oh, it's not working. We're out of our comfort zone. You go into halftime, you talk about it a little bit, get your team together, feel more comfortable moving on into the second half.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that also falls on the coaches. Depending on your coach's coaching style as a college coach, you may be more of a hands-off coach, you may be more of a hands-on coach. And I think later in tournaments when adjustments need to be made quicker, I think a more hands-on coach is going to be able to see that earlier and get his team the adjustments that are necessary to get that 1 point that it might be necessary to get momentum and get a lead. You know, someone who comes to mind is Kaz Merrick for Pittsburgh. He is very, very involved, always objectively evaluating what's going on during the game and constantly giving feedback to his players. Now, there's a trade-off to that. When you're so hands-on as a coach, you're taking sort of the responsibility off the players to recognize it themselves. Both coaching styles can be effective. However, you know, I think as a college team, it's awesome to have a hands-on coach that's constantly giving you feedback on how to make that adjustment.
And as you said, it depends on the players you have on the field as well. If you have smart guys that are leaders that can be involved. I talked to Phil Bowen last week, coach of Carleton, and he talked about how Sam Canner and Grant Lindsley were just the guys that said the right things in the huddle for those squads, and that's how they've been so successful, is that they went to the huddle, they said the 1 or 2 things they needed to improve on for the next point, and they went forward. And it depends. If you have those captains, those leaders that can do that, you can afford to kind of have a hands-off coach. But I'm like you. I like the hands-on guy. I like to take the burden off of the players. They have the experience with the strategy. If you're a college player, sometimes you've only had 3 to 4 years of ultimate experience. That's just not always enough in the right situation. Cooper setting up the offense. L-Stack, new look here, and Banerjee jukes out his man, but Cooper doesn't take him deep. Finding Shaw in the middle of the field.
You know, Tufts came out in that L-Stack and totally went away from it once it broke down.
North Carolina effectively forcing them back into it, and things have slowed down once again to a crawl. Cooper getting some separation, finding the upline. Good move by Alex Cooper. Nice break throw. Cooper raising his game a little bit here. Sayer McCord just chasing him. We saw Sayer McCord dictating a lot earlier.
Yeah, Cooper can feel the urgency. He knows it's on him to make something happen. Unfortunately, he tries to make a little too much happen. Throws a scuba over the top. And again, the credit goes to the defensive system of North Carolina. They forced everyone downfield. No one was open. Cooper had to try to make something happen. Cooper's had quite a few good throws this half, but almost just as many turnovers.
Track meet on the field, McNaughton versus Johnson, and Sayer McCord likes that option still. Too far for Johnson.
You know, it's the right decision. Bad throw, the right decision, though. You've got your best player throwing to one of your other best players. You put that one every time, especially early in a game when you're trying to generate momentum. And you know, if you're Sarah McCord, you've been on so far this half.
And there was separation by Johnson, and you like him in a foot race. McNaughton and Johnson is a very interesting matchup. They're speedy, but we have a turnover. North Carolina able to hold here would be huge to go up 7-6, take it back. Shepard taking it on the right cone. We also have Tristan Green on the field. Fire starter gets open right away. Throwaway. Green was open.
Yeah, Green made just a blast of a cut there. Got open immediately. I mean, a truly unfortunate throw there for North Carolina. That should have been a goal.
Shepard poaching off. Cooper not hesitating to find the swing. Finding Cooper back. Tufts give and go, but not much movement. But there was a switch there, and Cooper now has a more favorable matchup coming down the field.
I mean, looking downfield, there's absolutely nothing going on downfield. The Handlers are essentially just playing 3-on-3 against North Carolina. If you watch downfield, they have no idea where to cut to get open because of the defensive style that North Carolina is playing.
Cooper finally getting things going with a long break throw, and we have a little bit of flow. What we're seeing here is Tufts has a lot of roll guys here, but they're so specific to what they do is that there's not too many multidimensional players that can kind of adjust on the fly. And a turnover, Johnson on McNaughton. And miscommunication, nobody goes for Johnson, and Johnson wide open. North Carolina leads 7-6.
North Carolina is up by 1 right now, but truly they're dominating every aspect of the game. Yeah, they're only up by 1, but they're dominating defensively by dictating what they want Tufts to do. Offensively, Johnson and Sarah McCord are the story.
That's the first time Sarah McCord has not been involved in a scoring play this game, but we have Johnson with his 3rd goal, and both of those players right now are playing incredibly, and they need to keep doing that. They cannot afford to just have a bad second half. North Carolina depends on them to perform in order to win. See if we have any score updates right now. Also, if you're interested in tweeting and asking us questions, I have my own personal Twitter account, no_look_scuba. Interact with us throughout the day. We can ask questions. We'll answer them. We'll be tweeting throughout. Mario, I'm not sure if we have any Next Gen Network Twitter account.
Yeah, if you want to tweet at NGN Ultimate, we're taking a look at that. Tomorrow I'm looking to set up my own Twitter account.
Mario O'Brien joining the social networking scene.
Join it.
He is the scene.
I was on that Facebook scene since 2003.
Back when you actually had to attend college in order to be on it.
Yeah.
Cooper starting things out to Hatchett, and Hatchett playing offense now. Trying to spread things out. Only 2 handlers back, though, and 5 cutters downfield. Just trying to let Cooper and Shaw do their business. Finding Hatchett. Freshman Carter Thalen downfield, stretching it. Getting the space, running his man into the ground. Just near the end zone. Perkins high, back to Cooper. Nothing, no movement. Shaw, Cooper makes a move up the line, couldn't be found. Finding Hatchett for the goal, tied at 7s, and we're going to see an 8-7 halftime lead for somebody.
That was the first point that we've seen Tufts have sort of a flawless offensive point that came down multiple gaining throws in a row. Thalen in the middle of the play beat his man, really create a lot of space for that Tufts offense. They end up with an easy, systematic end zone offensive score.
Right now for score update, we have Pittsburgh dominating UC San Diego 11-3. On the other fields, Penn State holds, but Stanford up 8-4 there in that game. And we have Ohio on the other field over here in the stadium up 8-5 at half over Virginia. Ohio, another team fighting for a strength bid. Very highly ranked, top 5, I believe, in the nation right now, which is a surprise, but that has to do with the way the algorithm works. Michigan State scoring some big wins. Ohio beating those teams that beat Michigan State at Queen City Tune-Up earlier in this year. And should this Easterns go as we expect, we will finally see some of those pretenders crawl down the rankings and some of those teams that deserve to be back in join. Right now we have Whitman and Washington, 2 teams that we would expect to be in a national spotlight, and they're out of the top 20 as of now. And that has big implications for how many teams out of the Northwest make it.
Yeah, with the new ranking system, they weight recent games more heavily than games that are a little bit older. Whitman actually had some pretty good games at the Stanford invite, but now that they've played another tournament, didn't perform quite as well. That actually affects their rankings and, like you said, has dropped them out of the top 20.
Tufts choosing to poach, and North Carolina burns them for it, finding their man, but still contained. Defensive line with Sayer McCord. Finding Johnson. North Carolina really sticking to their roles, making sure they play, despite playing Sayer McCord and Johnson a lot, making sure that the other players are playing Shepard, a dependable handler. Sayer McCord looking for Johnson, was open, would have gone for the around flick. They love that play together, whether it's Johnson to Sayer McCord or Sayer McCord up the line to Johnson. They've been doing that all season long.
You know, and a veteran defensive move there from the Tufts defender. He stayed off his man, well, in that case, a little too far, and allowed that throw. But the first time, it was good because he knew that throw might be coming. He actually stepped off, and when the mark is closer to you, it's actually easier to break. And so the defender did a good job finding that middle ground where he can't break you and he also can't throw the upfield throw. That time, a little too far off, not enough pressure, allows the goal. North Carolina takes half, 8-7.
And we'll be back for the second half action here. I'm Brian Jones here, Mario O'Brien, part of Next Gen Network's coverage of College Easterns 2012 here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we're back here in Wilmington, North Carolina for College Easterns 2012. We have Tufts playing North Carolina leading 8-7. And just a quick announcement, today's game's encoded by Elemental Technologies, providing video processing solutions to deliver streaming content to any screen, anytime, anywhere, all at once. I'm Brian Jones back here with Mario O'Brien, and we have an exciting game with North Carolina defense dictating the game so far. And Tufts still hanging around, but North Carolina, the 15th team in the nation, up on the #1 ranked Tufts E-men.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny to say it like that. Tufts hanging around, and they're the favorite. You know, looking at their keys to the game, they haven't accomplished any of them. Their red zone efficiency has been mediocre. Sayer McCord is getting whatever he wants out there, and they haven't been able to get that flow going on offense. And that's the reason that Tufts is down in this game right now. Sayer McCord has been the story. Early it was defensively, and offensively, we're just going to see him doing everything for North Carolina. Here we see him with the huck to Johnson. Perfect throw. You know, he doesn't get the assist on this one, but essentially the goal happened because of him. He has been a dominant factor for North Carolina, and if Tufts wants to retake control of this game, they've got to limit Sayer McCord.
Right now, Sayer McCord with looks like 6 assists in this game and 1 goal. And like you said, it's been interesting because we saw Jack Hatchett on Christian Johnson earlier, and we saw Hatchett switch a little bit to Sayer McCord, and things slowed down a little bit from there. But already, Sayer McCord had compiled 5 assists. And then on the other side, North Carolina, great dictation on defense. And Mario, you brought up a great point at halftime about the way that North Carolina is playing the dumps well, but they could be doing it just a little bit better.
Right. Defensively, when you're guarding a handler and you're forcing downfield, your mentality cannot be, I'm going to get a D. If you're thinking you're going to get a D, that means you're going to be wanting to look at the disc more. And if you were actually turning your body to look at the disc, just that 1 foot that you have to move to be able to see both is enough for that throw to get off. Just that slight adjustment is going to stop more of those upfield throws, and it's going to put Tufts in an even more difficult position trying to reset the disc.
North Carolina starting out in defense, so this means this game's on serve. And Alex Cooper is going to have to raise his game a little bit for Tufts to be successful down the road with Sarah McCord guarding him the way it is, or somebody else on the handler side is going to have to step up.
Yeah, I'm looking for someone else on Tufts to step up. Tufts is relying a little too much on Cooper, and, you know, it's making him try to make things happen. As a handler, you don't want to have to make things happen. Truly, the onus needs to be on the cutters. They need to be the ones getting open. If you're relying on your handlers, the defense is winning.
Check back in after Banerjee getting caught up in some physical play. McNaughton again, the track show on with Johnson versus McNaughton. Here we see Banerjee holding the disc a lot longer, letting him step up a little bit. Banerjee is one of the few players with a very elite club experience on Ironside. Should be taking the disc a little bit more if Cooper's not available.
Yeah, I'd like to see Banerjee really get involved in this second half and take some of that pressure off Cooper.
Finding Cooper back. Very patient there. Over the top. Buonacorsi. McCord laying out. Can't quite get there. And again, we talk about this. The goal is not to get the D on denying the dump there. Sarah McCord, though, trying to still go for that, and it's letting Cooper get a little bit more space. Buonacorsi to Fallon. Cooper surveying the end zone. We've seen him throw a couple of scoopers.
See, that's what I'm talking about right there. I mean, that's just a blown assignment defensively. Maybe we'll get to look at this again, but what you're going to see is you're going to see the dump defender looking at the disc. In that second when he was looking at the disc, the offensive player made a cut. And when you're guarding handlers, just that amount of space is enough to get the throw off. In that case, the throw got off, beat him up line, and it led to the goal. That's a blown assignment by the dump defender for North Carolina.
This game is huge for North
Carolina. Here we're gonna see it. Well, we can't really see it. It wasn't really in the frame. But number 3 there for North Carolina got caught watching the disc, and his defender snuck away from him. Easy goal for Tufts.
This game, not so much important for Tufts in the sense of getting a bid, but North Carolina, if North Carolina and Wilmington do well this weekend, that region is going to have 2 bids. And this game here can mean the world. A win here, and I'm kind of a rankings nerd. I've analyzed all of that. But to put it simply, a win here is huge. It would give you such a bump up that you're going to defeat the #1 team in the nation. The algorithm's going to work out, even a 1-point victory. And at the same token, staying within 1 point is going to put you in good position, actually going to improve North Carolina's ranking. So score differential matters a ton. I want to see the Tufts defense start to step up. It may not happen right at the beginning of the second half, but against Texas last weekend at Centex, they came alive, and they just started getting Ds like crazy.
And that's actually what I haven't seen here from Tufts. I haven't seen any one player that can just shut someone down. You know, for North Carolina, Sam McCord and Johnson have had some success shutting down the Tufts players. But yeah, I'm looking for that defensive stopper who can either make a play or just shut down and eliminate someone on North Carolina.
Now North Carolina going without Sam McCord on the field, moving it quite well, showcasing their depth, squeaking it in to Justin Moore, captain North Carolina. 9-8 they lead, and Justin Moore is a bit of an unsung hero because he's more well known for his ability to shut down cutters than it is for his offense ability to go out and make plays.
You know, a veteran play there by the captain, Moore. He did a good job using his body to shield the defender. Now, he's a little amped up. He feels like he might have gotten fouled on this one, but really, he made a good fundamental play, and that's why he got hit. That's not. It was not a bad bid by the defender. It's just a bid that's going to happen in that situation. Great play by North Carolina. Wind has died down here a little bit. I wonder if we're going to see the deep game open up for either team here in the second half.
Yeah, if I'm Tufts, and this is the one thing I took away from Centex, is just I wonder if teams are going to start to catch on of Cooper always having the disc. And we don't have much footage on Tufts out online, but people are just kind of well known. And I wonder how much the video age of Ultimate is going to affect things.
I mean, it's totally going to change everything. Not only can you scout other teams, but truly you can also scout yourself. You can learn your own tendencies, and you can learn what other people are going to game plan about you. And I think that's actually one of the things that's been missing in Ultimate up until recently is, you know, tons of documentation of what players do, what teams do, and there's going to be no hiding what your strategy is. It's going to make teams be more dynamic.
McNaughton comes down with it, and Banerjee, and that's what we talked about. Somebody else stepping up and making the play, taking the pressure off Cooper, and Banerjee is that guy to do it.
And this one goes back to that key of the game that we talked about at the top, and we talked about it at halftime. They initiated their first cut. They connected their first play. They scored a goal immediately. North Carolina needs to make sure that they take away the first play from Tufts.
Looks like that Gatorade bath woke up Banerjee a little bit from earlier. Now he has multiple assists in this game. Not sure where he's at, but he's definitely started to play a big role. And I suspect if this game continues to be tight, we'll see Cooper, Hatchet, and Banerjee kind of run the show with McNaughton also filling in. McNaughton will be matched up with Johnson throughout the rest of this game. Should be a great matchup again. Both cutters very speedy, very explosive. It's kind of like whoever takes the first step wins. And if I'm a cutter like that in that situation, I'm kind of holding off and just waiting for that lull for the defender to get a little bit flat-footed and take off and get that separation.
Sideline talk has picked up for both teams.
Wind, it looks like it's back up. We can see the jerseys fluttering in the air, and that pull coming decently short of the end zone. And Tufts showing that transition zone. A lot of communication between players. Giving up the swing. Finding Foster. Ward swinging it around. Now finding Sayer McCord. Nothing available deep. Sayer McCord not hesitating there to swing it. A lot of times he's going to want to look for that option. And now finding that chemistry with Johnson, just flipping it back and forth. Finding the hole through the zone, breaking through more. Ward looking to break to Sayer McCord. Tufts still hanging on in the zone, not transitioning out of man. Johnson.
Tufts is getting what they want here. They're forcing North Carolina to make a lot of throws. And there we almost saw a miscue.
And there was almost another one worked out. North Carolina is choosing to move it quickly. Johnson right there wide open is Moore. And Moore's second consecutive goal playing a big role right now as North Carolina continues to lead 10-9.
North Carolina did an excellent job being very patient. They went that entire point without making a single throw that even had an opportunity for a D. Tufts did a great job coming out with a different look there defensively, but when you're in the end zone and the team has had the entire point to pick apart the defense, it's going to continue to be easy for them in the end zone. Tufts maybe needs, next time they run that, I wouldn't be surprised if they ran that transition maybe till half field or to a set number of passes and then transitioned out of the defense to change the look and, you know, give themselves an opportunity for D.
And Tufts has shown that transition zone throughout the year, often counting up to about 7 or 8, 10 passes.
Banerjee needs to be the guy here for Tufts. the last couple points, he's been the only player to be able to get open for Tufts offensively, and he needs to take control and maybe just think about getting it every other pass if he can continue to get open. Banerjee in the middle of the flat stack wearing the hat. Looks like he's going to be that initial cutter right now.
Banerjee cut off. Instead, McNaughton comes underneath. Played well off. Get it to Banerjee. Finding Shaw up the line. And Tufts is starting to move a little bit better here. Really just realizing when they're focusing on Cooper too much, it's leaving other people open. Going at Corsi, and Cooper going upfield makes the adjustment. Tufts ties the game at 10.
You know, Tufts has figured out the force middle. They know where they've got the advantage. That time they were able to generate a couple easy gainers. Then Banerjee throws it up line. Easy goal to Cooper. This is where, if you're North Carolina, you have to know, even if teams know that you're going to do force middle, it's still going to take them a few points, maybe a half, to figure it out. But at this point, Tufts has seen, North Carolina's bread and butter defense. At this point, it's critical that North Carolina throws a wrinkle into that defense. Maybe you keep it force one way. Maybe you throw a junk into your force middle. But if you continue to do the same thing defensively and don't make an adjustment, Tufts has it figured out.
North Carolina, they're throwing junk, would put the disc kind of back in Alex Cooper's hands, forcing all the receivers out and forcing them into a huck situation. And if I'm Tufts, I'm looking at forcing Banerjee out and trying to get that huck to come from the handlers.
And that's what we're talking about, those minor adjustments. If you're a coach, you have to know that the only guy really getting open downfield is Banerjee. And you have to just make one adjustment just on that player to keep it out of his hands.
And Tufts now throws that transition zone, which you predicted, Mario, coming out, and they'll slowly go to man. Sayer McCord finding the openings. Bit of a jailbreak for North Carolina. I think Sayer McCord up line, just dominating this possession. Flips it just behind his receiver. Looks like we have an injury on the field.
A little bit of contact there on that play. I'm not sure if the North Carolina was actually tripped right before he was about to make the play. It definitely didn't look clean. I think you can see Cooper coming in from the backside actually trips him before he's able to make the play. We're going to be a foul called here.
Would have been Sayer McCord's 7th assist of the game, but he had that transition zone. It really didn't work too well. It looked like North Carolina felt comfortable. Hey, we've seen this just as Tufts is getting used to the force middle. Now both offenses are starting to click. Who can adjust here and throw in that wrinkle? And I wonder here, does Tufts have the advantage in that? Back to Sayer McCord. Flick for the score. And that's Sayer McCord's 7th assist of the game. 11-10, they lead.
Both teams have cleaned up play here in the second half. A little bit sloppy in the red zone for both squads in the first half. So far, North Carolina 3 for 3 in the red zone. Tufts 2 for 2 in the red zone.
We have Georgia facing off right now with Michigan. They're up 10-9. That's got another ranking implications as well. Georgia outside of the top 20, Michigan just inside. Winner of that game could be huge. Thing is, though, is that the rankings might not change if we see a lot of close scores. We kind of need to see some blowouts to really start to see that separation.
Blowouts and upsets.
Blowouts and upsets. We need to separate the pretenders from the contenders, get the right teams into the top 20. When we say the right teams, we're talking about the eye test. We're talking about, we look at these teams. We've seen them go throughout the nation. We know Oregon's supposed to be the #1 team in the nation. There's no question that. They have one blemish on their record against Michigan State, and you know what? That was a pool play game. They beat Tufts last weekend on Universe Point, but controlled that game. Oregon's definitely the rightful #1. And then behind that, we have Pittsburgh, who won warm-up, and they went in and they also made it to the finals of Stanford Invite. So they look like the clear #2. Tufts this weekend can take that #2 spot if they win this game. They go on to face Pittsburgh and beat them. But we still have a lot of games left to be played.
Comes that flick pull from North Carolina.
Shaw centering to Cooper. Bit of a split stack here with Banerjee isolated in the middle, going into the horizontal. Banerjee to McNaughton, and they're liking this connection so far. Tufts ties the game at 11, and that was a quick offensive point.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, Brian, who's doing the work out there. I mean, the last 2 points, it's been Banerjee has been that initial cut. There needs to be an adjustment made immediately by the North Carolina. I'm not saying their defensive strategy needs to change. They need to recognize that Banerjee is the key for Tufts right now.
Tufts has made that adjustment, and it's kind of, and it still comes that we've said it so far in the second half. First team to kind of adjust here can win. Right. They can run away with the game.
I mean, that play looked like a drill.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easy. It was like there was no defense on the field, and I'm sorry, North Carolina, you didn't exist on that play.
They came out, Tufts dictated, and after all this time of North Carolina dictating on defense, they haven't done that in a while, and for them, they need to keep their offensive rolling. But this is what happens. You want to put away the #1 team in the country. Yeah, you're hanging around. That's great. You still have a chance. There's no time. There's no reason to panic. But you want to put them away. And if you're not getting Ds on them, it's more likely that they're going to raise their game and put you away. Shepard starting things out. And Hatchet now matched up with Sam McCord. Sam McCord taking it deep. Foul called on the play.
We talked about adjustments. Tufts came out. They went zone for a whole point. They went transition for a point. Now they come out man, and finally they're able to shut down that first play. As you can see, the cutters are way too far downfield. It's going to have, this next cut is going to have to come from the handlers unless there's a blown assignment downfield.
Finding Johnson. Johnson thinking better of hitting his teammate, Sam McCord, down the field. Hatchet reading the play, coming in, getting the D, and foul call on the play.
We'll have to see how the observer sorts this one out. Hatchet made a great read on the play. Looked like he actually got there first. I agree that there was contact on the play, but I think it might have happened either simultaneously or after he actually got the disc.
This is the matchup I've been most excited for, is Hatchet versus Sam McCord, because it looks like it's going to be a upheld foul call for Sam McCord. But Centex last weekend, Hatchet lined up on Will Driscoll, double wide player, Texas player. Driscoll getting the better of him early on, and Hatchet kind of figuring it out. Hatchet there recognized the play where it was going and went to the spot where he could get the D, and there was some contact, but he could be getting the next one. Johnson. Snell putting it out to space to Sarah McCord. Hatchet getting up for the D.
Yeah, there's that matchup, Brian. Hatchet coming up big when it counts.
And with Tufts offense operating smoothly, let's see if the D-line offense can come away and put this away. And that's the unfortunate thing when you have Sam McCord going deep. He's not the one throwing it there. A little bit higher, and that's going to be a completed goal. Perkins-High, back to Shaw. No Cooper on the field for Tufts. Travel called on the play.
You can see a lot of the offensive cutters right now are setting up really, really deep. That makes it really hard if you are that offensive cutter to be able to come in and get the disc, because your defender knows you only have one option. You're going upwind. It's not going to be an outcut. The defenders need to know if you're that guy, it's going to be coming underneath.
Wong. Still not much movement. Finally finding his man, Shaw. Shaw getting the chance here to be the feature on the handlers for Tufts.
Tufts has had a lot of success throwing upfield with that backhand inside out, but not as much when they're on the other side of the field, because that's going to force it. As we saw right there, that was the backhand inside out. When North Carolina can force the disc to the other side of the field, that throw is either an inside out forehand, which is really tough in that tight space, or that lefty backhand.
Really want to see Hatchet here take control, coming in underneath. just outside the goal line, calling a timeout. And we'll be right back with action of the second half of North Carolina versus Tufts, game tied at 11. Brian Jones, Mario Bryan here, the Next Gen Network. And we're back in North Carolina, or Wilmington, North Carolina, with Tufts facing off against North Carolina. Tufts coming out of timeout with possession near the goal line. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario Bryan. Great weather here, a little bit windy.
Yeah, the story of this second half has been the Tufts stars coming up and giving Cooper some assistance. It's been Banerjee, this last point, Hatchet getting the D, then he calls timeout on the goal line. That's what you need from your stars. You need to take the pressure off of your handler.
We see the angle stack again with the last cutter lined up almost out of bounds. Hatchet finding Banerjee, drops the disc. Banerjee playing so well recent. That would have been a huge opportunity to go up 12-11 for Tufts.
That's an unfortunate miscue for a veteran. And you rely on players like that to make plays, especially in this situation.
And this one is Hatchet and Sayre McCord matched up again. Hatchet getting the best of him. Hatchet's won those last two battles. He's been tight on every single throw to Sayre McCord.
You know, I think Sayre McCord actually had a misread. He's going to go up a little too early, and he just misread it. I think Hatchet, you know, big D, but truly it was a misread by Sayre McCord.
Looks like the wind also played a role in that last end zone possession for Tufts, and we've talked about red zone efficiency, and the wind there is almost no excuse for a team like this. You got to convert. Banerjee once again to Perkins high. Both teams exchanging deep shots.
That's been the wind on maybe on that goal, on the last huck for North Carolina, and on this huck as well. You can see that, you know, on a normal, not windy day, that throw is just a nice floaty outside in, but with the wind as it is, it turned the disc over, made it blade a little bit, resulted in a turnover.
Tufts playing a bit of a zone, and it looks like North Carolina's broken it. Back to Nethercutt, just blown assignment. Nethercutt threading the needle to Moore and more. Again, I think that's his third consecutive goal in this game.
Yeah, Moore's coming up big. He just always seems to be open. It's not necessarily that he's like blowing by his defender. He just seems to be in the right spot at the right time, and that's a sign of a veteran.
And we have a play of the game today. Today's play of the game is brought to you courtesy of the National Ultimate Training Camp. The National Ultimate Training Camp is the longest running overnight ultimate camp for high school players in the country, located in Amherst, Massachusetts, and run by Amherst Regional High School coach Tina Booth. It has provided the foundation for many of today's top college players, online at nutc.net.
Yeah, the Nutsy camp is one of the best camps in the nation. They've got a long-standing tradition of producing great ultimate players. Tina Booth is truly an institution over there on the East Coast, doing lots of great things for youth ultimate.
Banerjee with a great backhand put early in the game. Another timeout on the field, and it's adjustment time, the last chance here. Which team can go on a run? And Tufts had the opportunity to go up 12-11, and North Carolina comes back huge. He gets the job done after some miscommunication by their D-line.
Yeah, I would look for North Carolina to just really try to get fired up here defensively. Just sort of the way, looking at their huddle as they're breaking out of it, it wasn't necessarily a cognitive huddle. It was more of a let's get the energy up, let's win our matchup, let's take this momentum, and let's beat the #1 team in the nation.
Also, just of note, we have soft cap now on. This should be a game to 14. North Carolina having the inside track.
North Carolina, like we said, needs to make an adjustment, but I'd like to see that adjustment happen and then go back to what got them here. I'd like to see them throw a junk or throw some sort of transition defense and then make Tufts think a little bit make them get comfortable, and then put them in that high-pressure situation.
It seems it's all about comfort. It's just getting teams out of their comfort zone. What can we do? And that's what defense is make them do their weakness. And North Carolina succeeded in that in this game. And Tufts is hanging around because they're a good team they're number one in the country for a reason. But North Carolina, game plan so far, got to give them a ton of credit. And we see a wrinkle, a zone on the field. Almost turning into a four-man cup with Nethercutt joining from the wing. Cooper going over the top. Cooper making the mistake here. The Tufts usually can get the best of a zone, but it usually takes them a while as well to warm up to it. Johnson. And dropped by North Carolina.
That's truly unfortunate there for North Carolina. They got exactly what they wanted. They made their adjustment out of halftime, or sorry, out of the timeout. They got their turnover and a drop.
Four-man cup. One man now coming in. Double team. Cooper going with the hammer, and Uwana Corsi's there for the goal. And this is where Cooper's at his best.
Yeah, Cooper's at his best when he's just slanging out there. This is a nasty throw. It's windy out here, and he just throws a perfect hammer. And you'll see on this replay that the North Carolina defense just freezes when it happens. They're just like, I can't do anything about that throw. That's a perfect throw.
It's the danger of playing zone even close to the end zone, and it would go with the wind. Cooper, that gunslinger, he's got the lefty backhand. He's got the hammer. He's thrown a couple scoobers in this game. And zone is that space where you allow handlers to be creative. Is you get a set and you say, you know what? I have confidence in this throw. I'm going to beat him myself.
Yeah, and he's he certainly has those skills. He's confident in that situation that he's going to be able to deliver any throw.
Coming down to the wire, we couldn't ask for really more in this opening game. 12-12. North Carolina has been holding, going up a little bit earlier in the game, and Tufts had the lead at one point right before the end of the first half, 6-5. North Carolina coming back, taking half, and holding the lead now, even though Tufts has had the opportunities to break. And they've just, that red zone efficiency, those keys of the game, contain Thomasay and record, convert in the red zone, get the easy flow going. They've started to get the easy flow going, but they haven't converted in the red zone off of those timeouts. Shepard playing a little bit of Jung Z here. And Sam Record putting up for Johnson. Johnson is going to run this down. Can't make the grab in bounds. Drops the disc. It's not what we expected from Johnson there.
Yeah, perfect throw again from Sarah McCord. Another veteran mistake in crunch time. I'm wondering if the contact actually caused him to drop it. You're going to see him clap, catch, and it looks like he was, maybe his attention wasn't completely on the disc. Maybe he was looking at his feet. Maybe he was looking at the defender. But really, that is why you chase down every disc as a defender. Hatchett knew he didn't have a play on the disc, but he still made the bid, and a clean bid. He made the bid anyways, and that actually distracted the offensive player enough to where he makes that catch. I guarantee you, if there's no bid on that disc, that the disc gets caught.
Sam Record matched up against Cooper once again in crunch time. McNaughton trying to get things started. And Sam Record playing well off the mark. Cooper floating a beautiful pass to Shaw. McNaughton now flows gets going, and Cooper being creative at his best. Still going to need somebody to do it for him.
Yeah, Cooper needs some creativity downfield from his cutters.
Right now this UNC defense is stepping up, not allowing too much. Cooper on a quick give and go. Great fakes from Cooper, but Sam Record still playing well off. Now we have Banerjee. Now we want Tufts to keep it downfield. This is how their offense is going to go, and they get some quick movement to McNaughton and Tufts. Just like that, turnover by Johnson, and McNaughton's able to make Johnson pay at the other side of the field. 13-12, Tufts leads.
Again, it was Banerjee. He caught the disc in the middle of the field and then immediately looked to the break side, which was what led to the goal. Banerjee coming through in the clutch.
And now I believe it's game point for Tufts. Their defense can come out in the field And it's just come down. It has. We've talked about the wrinkles, but there was execution. Johnson just being able to catch that pass in the end zone would have given 13-12 lead, and you're feeling pretty good. And now you're thinking maybe, oh, we have to break to win. Well, right now, if you're North Carolina's offense, no, you got to hold. You don't worry about the break right now. Let your coaches, let your defensive line get pumped up. You'll figure that out.
Yeah, to win big games, execution, number one, has to happen. Secondary to execution is you have to make adjustments at the right time. If you're trying to execute the wrong plan, you're not going to have as good of a chance to win. You've got to execute while also making the adjustments necessary.
Next game we have lined up, I believe we have UCF facing off against North Carolina Wilmington, the home team. And UNC here, regardless of the way this game goes in the rankings, UNC has done themselves a favor by making it this close. UNC Wilmington needs to return that favor because both teams need to be in the top 20 for that AC region, Atlantic Coast, to get another bid. Looks like we have Ward bobbling the disc and may have held the possession for long enough, and this could be huge depending on the observer
We're going to take
ruling.
a look at whether or not he had possession. No, you know, looking at the replay, you can really see that he did not have possession. He was looking downfield as if he did have possession, but you can see he definitely did not possess the disc. He dropped it initially. Excellent call there by the observer.
It's defined as continuous possession off of a pole. Argument takes place for a lot of people, and North Carolina finding the holes in the zone. Johnson milking the pass. Defender trying to go over the top. Call on the play.
So now on a stop disc, Tufts needs to go man. They need to make the adjustment right now that's what has to happen.
Ward, Shepard extends for the catch. Finding more, quick move with the Sarah McCord, and we're going to Universe Point. Sarah McCord adding another goal to his stat sheet.
You know, defensively, Tufts was not on the same page right there. When they went to man, they forced backhand, and the dump defender actually forced his defender up line, which was the open spot on the field. That led to that easy up line pass, which eventually led to the goal. Excellent job moving the disc quickly by North Carolina. That's one thing that we saw early in the game, and we also saw it on that point. When they are able to move the disc and keep the stall count low, they are very, very tough to stop. Any team, for that matter, is terribly tough to stop when you can constantly change the angle of attack and not allow the defense to set up the mark and the rest of their defenders downfield.
Looks like we have Ohio winning on the other field versus Virginia. And we have Georgia versus Michigan. Not sure, confusing score. It's 12-11 somebody in that game. Illinois has won. Looks like over Florida. Big win. It's surprising. And you know what? That's really going to – Florida needed to – for Florida to get in. We've talked about this is a team that's been perennial nationals for a couple of years now. They needed to come out, and they needed to dominate Easterns in order to get in. And they started out well against Pittsburgh. We're up 6-4 early. But they're just not the same Florida team. We saw them at Stanford Invite.
Yeah, people like to talk about Florida. They've had some good players come out of there. That's not a good team. I mean, a couple good players on that team, but as a team, they don't have it this year.
Be interesting to see if it comes down to Southeast Regional. We may see two bids, and you know what? Familiarity with the teams is going to matter. Florida beat Georgia earlier this year. They're going to know UCF, which we're going to see in the next game. They're not going to do something on the national scale, but I still leaving up a little bit of hope that they could maybe break through regionals. And we're down to what should be the last point of this game, 13-13. North Carolina pulling to Tufts. Everything left on the table now. Going with your best lines.
We're going to see the sideline energy come up for both teams. Look for the North Carolina sideline to be an uproar on the sideline in the early part of the field, and they actually need to continue that all the way down the field if that happens.
Another cut with a flick. Paul centering to Cooper. Sam McCord trying to force it the opposite way into the stack, and Banerjee gets it, and they're playing well off Banerjee. McNaughton, Hatchet. Looking for Banerjee. Now back to Shaw. Cooper. An offense that's featured Cooper has adjusted well in this game. Finding Shaw, beautiful IO pass. Banerjee, defense here trying to not get beat, and as a result, we see some guys coming in underneath, and Banerjee calling the timeout.
So we saw an interesting setup there from Tufts. Going back to sort of the beginning of the play, you'll notice that the handlers were actually way, way behind everything else going on. That's what allowed those first two passes. It's actually reminiscent of what Revolver does on the club scene. They'll actually, once the pass goes upfield, they'll just allow players to stay in the backfield, because what that does is it gives you an advantage downfield. It's much easier to play 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 downfield because it makes so much more space.
And Revolver's got the players that can put it too, and so they can be very versatile with that. You got Bart Watson cutting downfield. You're gonna let him throw that disc a little bit more than some of the other cutters we see here today.
I mean, but that's what makes Revolver so powerful, is that when it comes down to it, they can beat you one-on-one, but they choose not to as much as possible. And I think that's actually the difference that I see between the club game and the college game. The college teams generally try to win with their athletes. Teams like Wisconsin, they're just trying to beat you up athletically, and there just isn't quite the sophistication of offense or defensive strategy that allows them to score goals easily or create Ds with their strategy.
Critical possession here coming out of timeout, vertical stack, getting it to Cooper. Hatchet coming in the break side. Pick called on the play.
I don't know what Tufts was going for there, but it looks like just reset to Cooper, and then, I don't know, it looks like ISO Banerjee.
Cooper breaking to Banerjee. Surveying the field, not much movement. Banerjee with a great break throw and towing the line. Tufts wins 14-13.
And Banerjee comes up with the right play at the right time. He uses that club experience like we've talked about, makes a technically perfect break throw around the mark. Offensive player toes the line. Tufts wins 14-13, holds serve as the #1 seed overall in the nation.
Perkins, I believe that was Devin Perkins high with a grab, yes. Banerjee with a low release flick. And talk about, that's a great play to win the game.
Right, and that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes your stars making a play in order to just push you over the edge for a victory.
I'm Brian Jones with Mario O'Brien. Thanks for listening in to Next Gen Network's coverage of College Easterns 2012. We'll be back in a bit with UCF versus UNC Wilmington.